Hello, welcome to this short video. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to be making a start to really unpack and discuss strategy and formulating strategy. And I want to begin with that by thinking about the crux. So the crux is the critical challenge that we need to be focused on solving in order to make progress. So I'm going to talk about that over the next 5 minutes or so. So a couple of different ways of thinking about strategy. One is from vision, and another, which really is the key point, I suppose, that I want to focus on over the next couple of videos, is strategy from challenge, sort of as a counterpoint, really. So when we're formulating strategy from vision, that's where we do really the quite conventional thing of creating that compelling, optimistic, long-term vision, goal, or objective for the future. So when senior leaders come together and they formulate the words and the terminology to say we are going to change the world in this way, we're going to double the size of the organization. In 3 years' time we will be this. We will be this fabulous, evolved, improved organization. So strategy from vision tends to be this very positive, optimistic, future-focused language. It serves a very compelling purpose. It's stakeholder communication. It creates focus in the organization. It's about alignment, really. So it's about making sure that people internally know where the organization is going, what it needs to achieve, but it also can be about communicating to our customers, partners, other collaborators who are going to be with us on that journey. But the key thing is that strategy from vision is primarily about communication. Strategy from challenge, I think, isn't necessarily different. It can very much dovetail into strategy from vision, but it's a different lens on this issue. So strategy from challenge is where we create a shorter term focus on engaging with the critical, usually complex challenges that need to be overcome for the goals, the objectives, and the vision to be achieved. So vision is about the future. The strategy from challenge is about identifying what's the critical problem that we need to solve now in order to make tangible progress towards that vision. So vision is all about the future. The strategy from challenge is really our focus on the here and now, and what are our barriers, blockers, obstacles to overcome. A couple of examples. So here we have a vision statement. So I'm not going to read that out, but you can probably guess who it is. We want to entertain the world, etc., etc. So it's a little bit wordy, but perfectly conventional vision statement, and you probably guessed it, it's for Netflix. But what's Netflix's strategy from challenge? If that's their vision, perfectly fine vision, want to entertain the world, why not? What's their critical challenge? Well, there are several, of course, but one I've zoomed in on and I think is just worth focusing on is that all the competition that's popping up, Disney, Paramount, Sky, Amazon, are all creating similar streaming services. So everybody wants to get into the streaming service game, I suppose. But actually a little bit more challenging to them, even than the competition, is the fact that these organizations, so particularly Disney, are really pulling back in their intellectual property. So not so long ago, you could watch a Disney film through Netflix, but you can't anymore because Disney has pulled back in all of its intellectual property and content. So that means that Netflix has got a real problem. How do we source cost effectively really good quality content? Making it from scratch prodigiously expensive. A lot of the places that we used to get it from, we can't anymore because they're all setting up their own streaming services, so they're holding on to it. How do you think Netflix are engaging with this problem, accessing really good quality content? Go on to Netflix and have a look, and what you'll notice is far more foreign language TV programs, dramas, documentaries than there used to be in the past. Places like Eastern Europe, South Korea produce really good content, but it rarely gets any space in Western countries. Netflix have become more open-minded on this and have repositioned themselves as broadcasters of world television. So this clearly more cost effective, but it's also really good quality stuff. A lot of it's dubbed, I noticed. Obviously, tired people in the evening, clearly not up for reading subtitles. So there's a lot more dubbed television, but it's really good quality stuff. But it's just coming from perhaps less conventional places. So that's how they're engaging with the challenge. So here's another strategy from Vision. There we go. And again, world's most compelling car company, no prizes for guessing that it's Tesla. But what's their crux? What's their critical problem? One of the more well-publicized ones was when they made that transition a couple of years ago from really very, very small volume, almost hand-built things, very expensive, Teslas used to be, to a mass-produced model. So now they're far more cost-effective, same technology, capability, and that sort of thing, but made to be far more accessible. So essentially half the cost, I think. So here we've got a Tesla Model 3, and it was quite well publicized, the challenges that they had to move from that sort of very low volume manufacturer to manufacturing on grand, vast scale. And I gather Elon Musk was sleeping in the factory for many months, really trying to solve that problem. Cars being built in tents and all that sort of thing. So Tesla had some of their key challenge was moving to that sort of mass-produced model. Now, as I understand it, there are still plenty of problems sort of ongoing with that. One of them, you could say perhaps one of their key challenges now is getting the quality up to that of competitors such as Volkswagen and that sort of thing. So that if you buy a Tesla, you can be confident that bits and pieces aren't going to fall off it. So maybe that's their strategy from challenge now. So just as a bit of a counterpoint there, we can see that the vision is this sort of guiding North Star, all very compelling, optimistic and positive. Strategy from challenge tends to be a little bit grittier. It's where we get into the reality of things. So it's often actually a little bit more compelling, I think, when we do start to think not so much about the goal, but the critical challenge that we need to solve. So our crux, just to sort of, I suppose, to sort of begin to pull all this together, is the fundamental issue that we should be focusing on now. It's the problem that will generate the greatest payoff. So if we solve this problem, it will create the greatest, most tangible results, the most progress for the department or for the business. The last point is whether we can frame it as a question. So there's a little bit of psychology, really, that we tend to engage much better with questions than we do with statements. So if we can frame the problem as a question, we automatically begin to engage with it. So here's a little example. So a crux for an organization could be, we're really struggling to retain effective data scientists. There's so much competition for them at the moment. So hire these data scientists, but competitors are clearly pinching them. If we were to frame that as a question, perhaps it helps us to conceptualize it a little bit differently and put us in control. So how do we engage and retain our data scientists most effectively in a competitive landscape? There we go. That's our problem statement. Now we're ready to start to engage with and solve the problem. So just in summary then, our crux. So what we need to do is think about not just the vision here, but also the reality, the key issues that the organization needs to overcome in order to progress. From those, what do we think is going to create the greatest payoff? What should we be prioritizing on? Say over the next 18 months, if we were to really get into this problem and solve it together, which problem is going to give us the best results, best returns? Next, phrase it as a question. And then we have our problem statement and our crux, essentially. That's where our energy needs to be. We can bring together the right people and really then sort of together put in plans to come up against and then overcome that key problem. And then we're making real progress. So there we go, the crux. In my next video, I'm going to look at a method for actually developing that plan to engage with the crux, but it all begins with identifying that critical problem first. Very good. I hope that's been helpful. Thank you very much for taking a few minutes to watch this video.